And we're back. The positive minds are back. The doctors feel good. Boy, I gotta tell you, I miss that song. I miss that intro. Once you hear the music, once it hits your ears, it's so good. I am Mind Runner from Mental Health Mondays, and with me is positively Chris from Ignite That Light and a number of other projects that are on his plate. This guy is everywhere, and he is igniting that light. Positively, Chris, how are you, brother?
I am doing well. How are you, Mind Runner? It's so good to see your face. Good to hear your voice, and getting back into the swing of things. It's been a good feeling. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And back at you. It's been quite a journey. I think both of us have been on the last couple months, but we're back keeping it positive and all sorts of things going on, all kinds of coals in the fire, the good, the bad, and the crazy and the nail biting. But we are here to keep it. We're here to kick it off for you. Start your week off with some positivity. Get off on the right foot, some inspiration,
Oh yeah.
and we're countering all the negativity on social media and online. We're bringing the positive vibes to you, the positive mindset. And I do want to just before we get going, I do want to talk a little bit, share some stuff with you and everybody. I
Oh yeah.
just got back from attending my uncle's funeral, and I lost my stepfather back in September. We went to his funeral in October, and once again I just got back from my uncle's funeral. So a lot of people in my family are passing. You know, they're in their 60s and 70s, which is still
hmm
pretty young to be passing. But it's you know, I say this to start off in a positive way because I want everybody to keep in mind, this is something I'm thinking with my own self reflection, is enjoy the time we have because tomorrow isn't promised, but
hmm
that also can be very freeing. Like, go for it, try it, don't be afraid, just go for it, and don't get yourself so. And it's easier said than done because it's really easy to get caught in your own routine and get and blind before you know it. Time passes by, but go do the thing, go try the thing, go out there and enjoy the time you have with people and with the people that you love, and try those new things that you've been wanting to try because you don't know, you might not ever get that chance. So
I think
that's where I'm
that's
coming from this weekend from.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's a good reminder, healthy reminder that people sometimes lose sight of the fact that there is a that there's a limit. There's a limited amount of time that we have on this planet, right?
Hmm.
And it's important to give ourselves the um, just the time, give it the time it requires, right? You have to find ways to focus on our mortality. I mean, that's something that, like, I think if you don't think about that at least every so often, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because it kind of does remind you that you should do the thing, do it now, do it afraid. I mean, it's a popular phrase. I first
Yeah.
heard it, I think it was a famous musician who said it initially, but the idea of, like, you may not have the feeling like things are going to be perfect, but if you give it a chance and you do the thing and you do it with a little bit of fear, that's okay. I think that's healthy.
I think so too. And there's a semi-famous comedian, Ari Shafir. He's been controversial, but he made a comment. He has a quote where he says, and I forget who originally said it, but it's every first draft is going to suck. And so I'm not sure every first draft is. If you go in with that mindset, like if you're going to create something or write something, it's free because it frees you from that quest of making it perfect. And I think a lot of times, a lot of our fears is, and this is going back to Redham, is I think a lot of times our fears are actually protecting us from something else, protecting us from embarrassment or protecting us from our feeling of maybe losing face in front of our friends. But our
hmm
friends are our friends, and they're going to be supportive no matter what. And none of us are perfect. And I found, especially like in teaching, that
hmm
I'm my harshest critic. And a lot of times, if I mess up in a lesson, most of the kids will only notice it if I react to it, if I don't just keep going. And like if I'm getting observed by another teacher or by administrator, like they won't even notice it unless I freak out. It's the freak out that causes attention to it. But if you just keep going and just have a good time, things are gonna be things are gonna be awesome. I think so. How have you been though?
Been good, been good. It's been positively busy on both the home front and professionally. So lots of things going on, as you said. You hinted at, you alluded to earlier. Lots of moving parts, lots of progress on my goals, and again, things are going well, man. I appreciate you sharing this bit of like personal
Mhm.
wisdom, because I think it's important that people do see the human side, the human element. It's kind of the point of this project that you and I are on right here,
Yeah.
is the idea that we are human behind the screen, and our personal lives. While we don't share everything, and nor should we share those things, there are certain moments that really do resonate, and we feel compelled, right? And it's important to share and hopefully help other people hear the same thing, because there could be other people that are dealing with the same thing as you are, and as we are. So
Mhm.
just, it's a helpful reminder, I think, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been thinking about a lot of this, especially seeing a lot of relatives this weekend. A lot of us are, we come from different backgrounds, but we're all human. And I think a lot of times we focus on the differences between each other, but that's because there's so much of us in human nature that's similar. A lot of us come from different backgrounds, but I think we all, on the basic level, I think a lot of us have the same motives. No, there are some corrupt people. There's people that kind of give in more to their evil side, but I think primarily most of us really want the same things. We just maybe have different views on how to get it, and that's where communication comes in, and that's where getting rid of a lot of negativity comes in, because what gets the clicks, all the negativity.
Oh
So
yeah.
we've
Oh yeah.
decided to combat that with our own segment called Positive News. So we are here to spread positivity. And with that, with your Ron Burgundy jacket on, looking spiffy today, let's stay classy, San Diego, and let's spread some positive news. All right, here we go. Yes, ignite that light. And I'm going to share some positive news here. Let's see if I can get the up. I don't want that. I want slideshow. All
I
right,
love the
positive
color
news.
scheme.
First,
Oh my
right off the bat, the cheese ball man of New York City. Have you heard of this, Chris? Have you heard of the cheese ball man?
no, but this is something that I would go watch. Like if this was happening at a park near me, I would be extremely compelled to go watch this person in real life.
Absolutely. There's a lot of like campus protests, people upset about Gaza, people upset about our government, people upset about all this stuff. But over 700 U.S. citizens came out in New York City to Union Square Park, to watch this man, the cheeseball man of New York City, eat an entire jar of Utz cheese balls. And if there's nothing I can think of that's more American, to gather a reason to gather around and come together and put all the politics and agendas behind us and watch this man eat cheese balls. I understand that he's gluten intolerant as well, so I'm not sure how this went, but there's even video. Just to kind of share you really quick, the this was an event, and
Yes.
here he is right here. This was the look how many people came to watch this guy. And what he did is he just went around posting posters for about a month, saying, "Hey, come see me at this time and watch me eat a jar of."
I am allergic to gluten. And today I will be eating this entire jar of cheese balls.
Yep. And then he starts off, and then he gets down to it. He starts getting a little bit.
Anybody have water?
Here we go. The final ball. look at the crowd. And then apparently they had he held a press conference afterwards, and people asked him, do you, Cheeseball Man, are you going to run for president? And he said, no, he's too young. He's 22 years old. But when he becomes age, he's going to run for president under the Cheeseball Party. And which, hey, I mean, I'm voting for him. He's got my vote already. But
Yeah, this is.
I just can't imagine. What are your thoughts on Cheeseball Man?
Well, I'll be the first to say this: the world needs more cheese balls. Both the food variety, I think, just generally like people like who actually act this way. We
Yeah.
need more levity in the world. We need more humor. This is the kind of thing where, yeah, people were probably protesting other things, but even they needed a little bit of a break from kind of the overwhelming frustration and the negativity, right? Even they found like, wait a minute, I need to take a break from just this sense of
Yeah.
continued pessimism, right? And this sort of gave them a break from all of that. As you can tell, like hundreds of people were literally flocking around this guy. As you saw like the video of it, it's just a reminder that people are human and they're not just this binary, black or white or 1 or 0,
Mhm.
right? There's so many facets to the human life and to the human element, I would say. And having people like from all walks of life here just enjoying this person eating a tub of cheese balls. I mean, at its core, it's just a good reflection of, I think, how we can all stop our yelling and our vitriol for even a little bit and come together to enjoy a little bit of humor in our day. So yeah, I love it.
Love no politics, no agendas, just cheese balls, and that's to me that's one of the most American things. Another cool story. This is a real quick one, but science. MIT discovers a way to evaporate water without heat using only light. This is a breakthrough discovery. Apparently, we've all been taught in school, or at least we allegedly have been taught that you in order to get water to turn into its gaseous form, you have to apply heat to get it to vapor stage. But in MIT, they discovered a way to not use heat, just light. Now, I've always thought heat and light had shared some things. I'm not a scientist, but
Yeah.
this could, according to MIT, this is a huge game changer, especially for creating clean water supplies and desalination that you don't necessarily need to heat the water.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some of my old school understanding of turning water into water vapors, especially with the water cycle, is conflicting with this, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is highly suspect, or as the kids these days say, hella sus.
Hella sus.
Yeah, that's what this is to me. When I think of how you create that vapor stage, right? It requires that heat component. It's like, I worked at a fast food place or two in my life, and we had the heat lamps. And let me tell you what, like they called them that because I'm telling you that light could melt. It could
Mhm.
melt a rock in about 30 seconds. I mean, that's how hot it was, man. Like this stuff was like these lamps were, I mean, I don't know that they were geared to actually do that, but like,
Yeah.
the light comes with that. Like you said, with heat, I feel like I'm not a scientist. I don't play one on TV. I'm not a doctor, even though I am one of the doctors
We
field
play
here.
one on here.
Yeah, I play one on here. I'd be interested to see this actually become more prevalent and predominant. I feel like this is something that could be a game changer for bringing clean water to people who desperately need it. By all means, I love that. It sounds a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would need a little more data but if this is real news and not something you pulled from April 1st from the Onion or some other
No, I did
website,
not.
then we're good. I think this is amazing. That's fantastic
Well,
news.
and it's interesting, and it's important too. I mean, you can still celebrate something like this and be skeptical and be a critical thinker and be like, okay, if huge if true, like
That's what I would
huge if
say.
true. Yeah, that's one of those things too. Like we're constantly learning new things. That's why I always have a problem when people say the science says. The science, no, science is always changing, always evolving with new data. You've got
It's
to
true.
to learn new things. However, I feel like it's also a crime to throw out the work that's been done before. Yes, if you've discovered new data that shows the world is not flat, then you can reorganize your thoughts there. But to throw out a lot of the work that scientists and doctors and everybody have done so far, like there's a lot of stuff in modern psychology that were still true in Sigmund Freud's time, but just maybe interpreted a little different. But to completely throw, like, BF Skinner still, behaviorism is still a thing. That's positive reinforcement is still a thing. That's not a new discovery. That was BF Skinner all day long. And yet I feel like a lot of times in how I feel about the pharmaceutical industry is a lot of times I feel like we want everybody to pay attention to the new science and ignore the old science, but sometimes the old science knew what it was doing. So
that's right. Hey, remember how they did? I mean, think about the oldest formulation of Coca-Cola, my runner.
Yeah,
Doing that.
why they call it Coke?
Yeah, it's why they knew what they were doing back then. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and then there was Pepsi. Woo. Yes, very much so.
Indeed.
All right,
no,
this is really cool. This is inspirational. I gotta tell you, Africa is really coming around with a lot of Africa doesn't get enough positive news in the world. The latest one is Wash the Depression Out of Your Hair, founded by Marie-Alex de Puter. I hope I pronounced that right. Heal by Hair is an initiative that has trained around 150 hairdressers across Congo, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, and West Africa to counsel their clients, all while getting their hair, nails, and facials done. And, a lot of times, in a lot of different cultures, in American cultures, the hairdressers are kind of like bartenders. They talk. And personally, I hate the small talk when I'm getting my hair did. I'm sitting there. I'm like, so how's your day? Oh, the weather's great. Oh, we're going vacation. And it's always some kind of like the talking, and it's just like what do I talk about? Oh, I just cut my hair. I just want to sit here and get it. But what's significant about this is that there's a high depression and suicide rate in Africa. And it started because Miss de Puter, her husband was murdered when she was pregnant with her first child. And she got into a big depression, but her hairdresser was able to comfort her and offer counseling. And then she got this idea that if you train hairdressers, since, healthcare and mental health is still very verboten. We're lucky in the United States that we can even have this conversation. But in a lot of areas of West Africa, it's a very taboo subject. So she's kind of being stealth but she's leading an effort to train hairdressers to also be counselors. And I think that's a really cool thing is you're to help improve society is you can learn from anybody. And one of the things sometimes you can learn from a podcast, even if they're not real doctors.
I love that. No, I love this news story, Mindrunner. What you shared here, what we're sharing here with the group. The idea that, I mean, this is probably something that we should be doing. I think in the U.S., right? We should be doing something like this. I think it's a fantastic. Like it's basically just like it's two birds with one stone, right? What you're doing here, you're getting you're taking folks who could use an extra like pep talk, a little extra something. Just I think a conversation where they can actually use some sort of like medical expertise to help bring joy to these people's lives. I think it's fantastic, right? Combining that with a haircut, with getting your nails done, I think it's fantastic. Like it sounds like something that we should be doing. I think already, like culturally, I think it's a really fascinating thing that. You think about, like, you go like getting your oil change and you just sit there in the waiting room and you wait for them to do that. It's like, you should be able to do that. Like also while you're there, they should, like there should be like 4 or 5 things they can be doing at the same time beyond that. Right. Just think about just the oil change. Like, oh yeah, while you're waiting in the lobby, why don't we, shine your shoes, and why don't I mean, it seems like there's like so many other ways to be using that the time that we spend sitting down. There's other ways and other highly impactful ways to do that. So yeah, I love this story or this news item, because it sounds kind of controversial, I think, or a little edgy, but I think it's awesome that you can combine actual counseling and hairstyling.
Well, there's and two awesome things that you said there that really stuck in my head there. One, of course, is the story itself, is that finding ways to help with mental health in all areas, and whether it's hairdressing, whatever, getting your oil changed, what have you. And these clients, they walk away feeling fabulous because they got their hair did, their nails did, and everything. And also that mental health and comfort, and that's going to give them a reason to come back. But the second thing too is just, what are some ways that we can combine, especially like there's only so many hours in the day, but if you can multitask your tasks for the day in one space, I mean, that would be tremendous. I know there's a couple car dealerships around here that, granted, the whole point is to keep you on the property so that you buy their cars. But like, while you're getting your oil changed, they have a movie theater, they have a nail salon, they have they have like a restaurant, like a food court, and
Exactly.
a chain of car dealerships. But it's all to keep you on the property. But I mean, if you're trying to figure out, I've got these 6 things I got to get done in an hour, but if you could get it all done in one spot, that's huge. Now, I'm not saying I'm a proponent for these 15-minute cities. That's a
No,
whole other discussion. But
that's next time around.
That's next time around. But I think this is really a cool thing.
I love it.
Speaking of cool things, I saw this today.
Awesome.
In fact, I saw this just before we got here. NASA has released using the James Webb Space Telescope, has released this beautiful new image of Uranus. This is actually, it's been released today. NASA, thank you to History and Memes. They found this. This is the most detailed picture. In fact, we actually have a video.
Do we?
Of NASA's close up of Uranus. So this is, thank you for History and Memes. But here's the video. It's very compelling.
Nice.
This is a close up of Uranus.
Yeah,
it's a very gaseous planet.
That's what I heard, and what I'll say is this. Yeah, I mean, this is. I saw some. There are these hats that are being sold that say "Make Uranus Great Again." And
yes,
when I saw this, I replied to the person who posted this, and I said, "Well, I mean, mine's always been fine because I do squats at the gym regularly, and I don't know that actually went over all that well. I think I was muted after that, so I haven't been responded to, but I felt like that was a compelling and rational response.
Absolutely. And
So,
the next mission that NASA wants to launch is, they want to send a probe deep inside Uranus.
yeah.
Dr. Colin is leading this expedition. And the deeper they go into Uranus, the more strange like mysteries of the universe are unlocked. It is a heavy gaseous planet. It's one of the
Yes.
gas giants.
Absolutely.
But I do feel that if you pass through the sphincter, you really get a good look inside Uranus and see what's going on. There's rumors that they might find some old chewing gum and among other things. So, but I'm excited. We're on the brink of space exploration and breakthroughs.
It's huge. This is huge.
There's a lot we can learn by going deep inside Uranus. So
Yes.
This is great stuff. Great stuff. Excellent. Now, speaking of going deep, I think it is time for us to, we like to keep it lighthearted around here, but
Yes.
sometimes we like to go deep down on a topic, and sometimes those topics take us off on some wild tangents. But Chris, it's time for us to go deep down the rabbit hole. All right, positively, Chris. What are we?
Yes.
Where are we going with the Where's the rabbit hole start today?
Good question. It's going to be regarding dreams and what they mean and what do they really mean at the end of the day. And the reason why I think this is an important topic, what do dreams mean, is because I do believe that they are either signs of something that you need healing with or healing from in the past, or they could be signals for the future, right? Or a combination of both, right? I mean, I think that's possible, but there are these schools of thought that dreams, the Freudian kind of thought process as dreams are these repressed feelings and emotions. They're like an expression of those overnight while you're sleeping, right? That's kind of the traditional Freudian version of that. And then there's some other ones where it's like it's actually just your brain trying to make sense of what you went through during the day. Like there's this kind of, I think it's more of like the evolutionary kind of version of that, but it's something that I think that there's a lot to be said about what dreams mean, because I do think that even today certain cultures around the world put a lot of faith into the meaning of dreams and that dream interpretation component. We may not have that as a priority in the US. Like it's not something that people really look, I think, too fondly of, but or look too fondly at, but it's something that I think is a compelling topic and something that we should talk about.
Definitely. And, it's funny too, because there's a lot of folks that when I talk to about this very subject about dreams, a lot of people, they think it's new age hoopla. Oh, dreams. The dreams are just random. Because it's like, how do you explain, to quote Mitch Hedberg, it's like I'm laying there falling asleep and suddenly I've got to build a go-kart with my ex-landlord. It's like, that's the kind of, that's what dreams, come across as. And sometimes some people claim that they don't dream. I'm not entirely sure that that's true. I think they just don't remember. There's times where I'll wake up and then completely like, what did I just dream? But when I was asleep, it was real to me. But a couple things I would say, I think I'm persuaded to believe the thoughts that a lot of our dreams are processing feeling things, the things jingling around, like unfinished or unresolved things, or things in our head that are on our mind. For example, like a lot of times I'll watch a scary movie, and like I was watching AEW wrestling. Then we watched this apocalyptic movie right afterwards, and then I had a dream that Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and I were fighting zombies together. And I mean, how do you explain? I mean, that it's like, okay, that's two things that I just experienced processing. But I think it's if you and again, this is my unscientific opinion, but if you think about what sleep is in general, what the actual purpose of sleep is your body basically, it's like under construction. It's repairing, the stupid things that you did during the day. You bumped your finger or whatever. It's shutting down the system so that and repairing all of the things going on, and that's got to include your brain. And where I think that is it's built repairing the roads, the synapses. Is that what it's called?
Synapses. You're good.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. But
it's
it's connecting those synapses and the trapeze and all that stuff that's between your ears. And what's going to happen is, of course, that's going to sometimes manifest in like your brain, your thoughts, and just some thoughts. You're going to have to actually do some thought, and I think that's what a lot of these dreams are.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like if you eat some bad sushi right before you go to bed, sometimes those dreams can get a little like you think about it. Like if you have if you
Yes.
take a substance that messes with your brain, you're going to have wild dreams because that chemicals are in your brain, and I think that's your brain trying to process that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're spot on with that, and just the tail end there, what you just said, the altered states of consciousness. That's something where people should spend some time, I think, researching that topic or that phrase, that ASC, because that's something I think we all as humans are seeking anyway. Mind Runner, if you think about it, the coffee that we drink, and shout out to Rootless Coffee,
Yeah.
unofficial sponsor of the
Yes, very
podcast or
much.
on X. They also there's caffeine in this stuff, right? And
Mhm.
the sugar that we seek out, we crave out, right? That we pour, the coffee creamer. Chobani makes amazing coffee creamer. It's finding ways to kind of alter your state, right? The same with like taking some sort of recreational
Mhm.
items and substances. I think it's seeking these altered states, and even alcohol, right? Drinking alcohol, that's another way of doing that, and smoking cigarettes. Like there's all these things that I think we as humans seek these sort of altered states of being, and quite frankly, our brains do get affected by that, and they can definitely affect what you dream about. Let me tell you, like I have some stories, and that sangria story, I've only told it maybe like 3 or 4 times in my life, so maybe some other day I'll tell you that story.
Now, I got one caveat I got about this, and this is, I think, because there's so much about our brains and our understanding of the world we have yet to discover. I mean, I've heard that they've recently debunked that we only use 10% of our brain or something like that. I've heard that that's been debunked, but what have you. But regardless of that, my thought is this is that I think, by the way, shout out to Blaze. I know these two cool dudes. We know this cool lady. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us, Blaze. We have been blessed
Lady
by
Wells
her
42 on
majesty.
X. Make sure you follow her if you're not
Oh
following
yeah,
her.
that's right. Lady Wells, Blaze Your Thoughts. Check her out on X. She is awesome, very inspirational in that Southern charm. Just be careful after midnight because that's when you get dirty blaze, or you get saucy blaze after midnight. But another thing that's interesting though, and a lot of people have had this experience where sometimes there's a connection that people have you like some people have reported having premonitions in dreams, or even connecting with other people in dreams. I mean, I'm not trying to get all Inception on you, but like there actually seems to be something spicy blaze. That's right. That's right. But there seems to be some kind of like there might be something beyond just our brains repairing. And I'm wondering if there's stuff because we can only see with our 5 senses. I'm sure there's things beyond our 5 senses going on. Do you think that there's maybe some mental telekinesis, telepathy that might take place when we dream?
It's a fantastic question, my mentor. For me, it's it's hard to describe it because I felt like that sense that we're not alone mentally either, right? Not just like we're not alone, but rather like you get sometimes you get the sense. I think maybe when you're like at a certain time in your life, you can start to think, wait a minute, like is there possibly some other being existing out there that actually is like seeing this? Are we are we in a simulation? Like you start to kind of question a lot of these things, and this happened to me about 10 maybe 15 years ago. I was thinking about, wouldn't it be wild if like there's this other person on this other planet in this other universe who's going through a lot of similar things or the same thing? Like it's just kind of mind-blowing, and I kind of don't know like if I want to think about that, because that kind of like creates this like new sense of like not deja vu, but like this sense of like just unease, right? And I think that's it's something that like it makes my stomach kind of churn if I start thinking like really really weird things like that. And but hey, we're going down the rabbit hole, and that's just what we talk about here when we do this.
Yeah, And we could argue perhaps what we're experiencing right now could be as much a dream as our dreams. What if our dreams were the real reality? What if our dreams are when we're unplugged from the matrix, and now that we get plugged back in, and this is what we're experiencing right now. There's a lot of weird things. A couple trends. There's you were talking about dreams. There's a couple common things that a lot of people experience, like when you dream that you're naked. And a lot of people, that's a common dream. Now that's separate from it's a lot of times when you think naked, you immediately go to, oh, is this some sexual thing? But most common in dreams, when people dream that they're naked, it's not sexual. It's much more of a vulnerability thing. It's like, for example, you might dream that you're at your high school reunion and you're naked and you're trying to put some clothes on. And a lot of that is less about, it's not sexual. It's more of people seeing behind your mask or behind the facade, the persona that you present to everybody. Or like then there's another thing is I've been having, whenever I started a new project, I find myself dreaming that I'm back at VMI, going back through the military rat line. And it's like, it's a lot of times it's like, it's kind of like okay, I've got to toughen up again. I've got to, I can't be lackadaisical. I've got to get going. So there's a lot of things. I mean, have you experienced dreams where they might translate to not necessarily the actual personification, but more of a more intangible meaning behind them?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mind Runner. For me, I think when I think of that, I think of like reliving certain parts of my life. Like that's kind of the thing that really, like really momentous times like that. Because I think part of what you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you think about like what makes something a memory or makes something memorable, it usually is a combination of things related to the time in your life when it was happening, the place where it happened, and then the emotional component of it. You need to have like items that are, okay, this is the picture that you're painting, but also there needs to be like some sort of like heavy pull of emotion. If you link like this kind of like painted picture in your head plus emotion to something, you're going to remember what's going on. So like if it was a time when like you were crying your eyes out because of something happening to you, or of a day of tremendous joy because of something happening, or tremendous fear, we are hardwired our brains. And again, we're not doctors, but we know enough about this. We've talked about this in the past, where you experience these things. Our brains, we think about fear. That's like one of the most pivotal emotions in the human body, right? The things that make us move is the risk aversion, or the desire to avoid pain. We optimize as humans to try for pain avoidance, and it's a natural thing to do that. So just it's worth remembering, kind of like, okay, what happened in that moment? Was it a time of tremendous fear or risk aversion or risk avoidance? Like what was going on? If you think about like what happened, usually you can kind of think about like, why is it so compelling? Why does it happen? Because that whole like basic training thing, like I still dream about that. I've had they're not really pleasant dreams, but I mean, even in the past, we'll say 5 years, I've still like it's almost like I go back to these dreams overnight where it's like, wait, like it's almost like it happened yesterday. It's like very vivid time. And it wasn't the most pleasant experience for me. But it stays with you and it lingers. And I think anytime you experience some sort of like transformational journey in your life, and it's a powerful emotion tied to that, you're going to remember this and reflect on it. And it works both good and bad, right? It's both ways. So I just think it's worth, I think, thinking about dreams and why we dream them. I mean, I could go on about this topic for days.
We can go down the rabbit hole for days. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, but that's only one segment on Positive Minds.
Absolutely. And I did, just to kind of jump back on there, and shout out to Stephanie from King Ari Press. Hey. Let us know in the chat, like what have you experienced with your dreams, and have you had a reoccurring dream or something happening? Like maybe sliding down the rope in gym class or something. Maybe there's something that's continuing to happen. It's interesting too, because like you said, when you had significant things happen in your life,
Yeah.
anytime I start to feel underappreciated or misunderstood, I start having flashbacks to my time as a car sales manager when I was working like
Mm.
7 days a week, and I was really working hard, but I wasn't getting, I didn't feel supported, and I felt like I was, burning the candle at both ends at my job, and that was such a tough time in my life. And so whenever I feel like that again, I start to have those kind of dreams. Whenever I'm, like I said earlier, starting a new project, like a project where I feel lesser than the task at hand, I go back to the VMI rat line, which is like basic training, basic boot camp. And yeah, and anytime
Oh
I
yeah.
feel vulnerable, I tend to have those dreams about, going back to high school and suddenly
Hmm.
walking around the school somehow naked. Now,
Yeah.
I did walk around the high school naked. I did get suspended for it, but I mean, that was an entirely different thing. That just was me being a natural, guy out in the wilderness. But again,
Yeah.
that's one of those things. And hopefully this conversation has helped some people. But let us know in the
Yes.
chat. Let us know in the comments. What experiences have you had with dreams? And let us
Yes.
know.
We'll absolutely follow up with you, and we can talk more about this next time around too. We can continue. We can have a continuation of this if it's a compelling topic for folks, and if they find that it's a value. Feel free to message us on X, DM us your questions, thoughts, your feedback. I think
we
it's
will
wonderful to hear from you all.
we actually have some DMs and emails that have been kind of sitting. We've been ready to answer, but before we get to that, we do have a word from our sponsor, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Doctors Feel Good, and this is a sponsor in the medical industry.
Have you ever felt that not so fresh feeling?
Have you ever felt like you've soiled yourself?
Do you fall asleep at night and get up in the morning?
Are you among the millions of people who enjoy breathing?
I'm living my life.
I'm living my life.
I'm living my life.
I'm living my life.
Humans around the world are finally able to live their lives again, thanks to expialidocious.
I used to not live my life, but now I'm living my life.
I used to think my kids were assholes, but now I'm living my life.
I used to believe there are only two genders and the world was round, but now I'm living my life.
Side effects may include headaches, backaches, clubfoot, sore throat, high blood pressure, vertigo, diarrhea, vomiting, bed sores, genital shrinkage, ocular warts, inflamed sphincter, flatulence, smells like hot garbage, high blood pressure, low blood sugar, loss of followers, Tourette's, loss of memory, zombie shingles, and gout.
Wait, those are the side effects?
Shut up, Karen. Expialidocious is helping people live their lives.
I'm finally living my life.
Living my life.
Ask your doctor about expialidocious and start living again.
Get busy living or get busy dying. I choose living.
Life is no longer atrocious with expialidocious.
I'm living my life.
Expialidocious, another glorious product from the Pharma Corporation.
All right. Thank you, Pharma Corporation, for that sponsorship. And
I didn't see it on my end, Myra. I didn't see any of it on my end. Can you confirm that it was brought up on my StreamYard? Because I didn't see it on the screen here.
I'm pretty sure it was, but I don't know. Maybe let us know in the chat. I felt like it was, but we do have some DMs and emails to answer. So let's get right to it. Let's get to the DMs and emails. And I feel like it's time for the Doctors Feel Good to rock it out this time. Yeah!
Your DMs and emails. Oh, yeah!
Oh, yes. And I swear I think I saw a Axel Zeke in there, too. I'm not sure that was completely just you and me in there. But the positively slash was pretty cool.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate
All right, so we've got some emails and DMs here. First one we've got is, let me go to sharing screen. We have it's about a bad smelling friend. So this is hey, positively Chris and Mindrunner. What's good, y'all? So I gotta spill the tea real quick. I got this friend who's awesome in every way, but their hygiene game is kind of off. Like, we all have those days, but it's becoming a regular thing. How do I slide into that convo without making it awkward or hurting their feelings? Help a girl out, please. Much love, Rudy Jean. All right. Rudy Jean.
Yes.
She's got the bad smelling friend. What do we do about the bad smelling friend?
Here's the thing. This is a challenge. This is a difficult, this is a complex topic, but I'll say this, the if you're really good friends with this person, they'll welcome any feedback that's constructive, but it's about how you say things, right? I think
Yeah.
the data says 62%. I think it's around 62%. I'm sure we'll ask Jamie to follow up with that.
Yeah.
But 62% of our not of the meaning behind what's being said is through the nonverbals, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just, you know, if you think about how we say something, it's that's what matters. What we say, the substance of it isn't as important as really how it's being said. And so when you have a friend like this who's struggling with hygiene, you just pull them aside and say, you know, hey, I love you as a friend. You're amazing. I want to see more of you. I want to give you this pro tip that you know, we could definitely grow our friend group if we're able to make some changes on you know, our hygiene. There's probably another word for it, but I think there's a way to make this exactly. Like, I see a comment from our good friend of the show, Morrison's Prophecy, about how you can you know, I found this new soap, you should try it. Here's my discount code. You know, you could definitely find ways to kind of insert that into conversations. You can be creative and clever, but I do think any really good friend, close friend, will welcome the caring and compassionate feedback above anything else.
It's going back to a conversation I had with Stephanie about the difference between being kind and being nice. You know, being nice is ignoring the stench, you know, and being kind is pulling them aside and having that conversation. You know, you don't want to go, oh, you stink, you know, nothing like that. But you know, you could have creative ways. I like Morrison's Prophecy, who I think I know that might be the good Reverend, my good friend Reverend Warlock, our good friend of the show. And yeah, you could take them. Sometimes you can just, hey, let's go to Bath and Body Works, or hey, I found, you know, let's.
There's a really cool place called Sephora at the mall. Want to go check it out?
Yeah, have you tried Irish Spring? But we had, like, at VMI, we had a dude that he came from, in his culture, they only would take a bath once a week, actually. And he wouldn't even shower. He went like a month without showering. Now, this is not just like regular day to day. I mean, this is like he's out there doing PT. He's out there, you know, doing military training. And this dude stank until finally we had a petition for the entire barracks that he's got to take a shower. And he was mad about it, but it was, you know, people became more friendly to him. So you got to, and I think a lot of people will ultimately appreciate it if you tell them. You know, I think sometimes we're afraid that we're going to make them upset, but you're going to make them more upset if they found out that they've been stinking this whole time and you haven't said anything. So, you know, that's why you got to make sure that that everything smells good. Let's go to the next letter, DM. This is, I think, an email, actually. This is hope this message finds y'all well. I think it's definitely a southern twang here. We'll have to might need Blaze to decode this for us. I hope this message finds y'all well. I'm reaching out because I got something weighing heavy on my mind. I reckon I could use a bit of advice. See, I got this wife of mine. Okay. And don't get me wrong.
Careful now. Yeah.
Pieces, but lately she's been glued to that dang social media like a fly on honey. Fly on honey. Okay. It's like she's got a full-blown addiction to it. And it's taking a toll on our family life. She's spending more time scrolling through them screens than paying attention to the kids and me. It's got me mighty concerned, I tell you. Now, I ain't one to meddle, but I reckon I got to do something to help her kick this habit. Any ideas on how I can gently nudge her away from them screens and back to reality? Appreciate y'all taking the time to lend an ear. Best regard, James. All right, so James has got himself. He's got this wife of his, apparently, that
Yeah.
addicted to social media. What kind of thoughts do you have on for James there?
He has himself in one bit of a calamity or some
Yep,
sort of a hoot nanny of sorts.
miscommunication.
Yeah, some sort of a problem we got here. And yeah.
I'm sorry, James. We're not trying to make fun of you here,
No, we're
but
not.
dude,
We love you, James.
yeah, we're making fun of ourselves and our lack of culture. So go ahead.
That's right. What it seems like what we have here is some sort of a problem with, and this is just
A
it's
situation.
communication. Yeah, there you go. You got it. It's communication, and I think it's similar to the whole the stinky friend story that we just talked about a minute ago, right? It comes down to just having and I think all of these actually these DMs and emails kind of have a similar theme of sometimes you just have to like pull somebody aside and say, hey, look, I think you're awesome, you're an amazing person. Here's something that like I've noticed, and I think it would level up everything in our lives, right? I think, and if you think about it from like a whether it's like the relationship this man and his the wife that he's got, and you think about that example, the other examples that we've shared already, I think it's a sense of, hey, just like really like having that like heartfelt conversation and that true and honest conversation goes a long way, and I think you can resolve many of these concerns by just having that talk and that deeper sense of talk rather than that resentment that kind of comes from that, right? And yeah, there's another amazing quote here from our good friend Morrison's Prophecy. Being compassionate can kind of come back on you. It's true. It's a double-edged sword, and that's a fantastic quote. And it's one of those things where you have to know. There's the book Give and Take, Adam Grant, you know who I'm talking about, Mind Runner, but there's this idea that the most successful people are givers, but also some of the least successful people are givers, and it's the type of giving that you do, right? So givers can, that's kind of contrary to what you'd assume. You'd assume that the takers will be the ones that kind of get to the top and stay at the top, right? That's the thing. But givers, the ones who actually give, but with some sort of intentionality behind it, are the ones that tend to be the ones that go farther, just from a professional, and I think in a lot of other facets of life as well. They sort of find success through just being very deliberate about that. And so again, you can give too much in a relationship, but also recognize that that the other way, not giving enough, also can backfire. So
yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Very, very well said. We've got one more. This, I believe, is also an email, not a DM. Very lengthy. It's I'm a stay-at-home mom, and in the midst of my daily routine, I stumbled upon an online community on social media. Within this community, I found a group of individuals who truly understand me and make me feel valued and supported. That's awesome. Again, social media gets a lot of negatives, but this is definitely a positive. Recently, I struck up a friendship with another member of the group named Greta. She's incredibly sarcastic and blunt in her communication, but I find her humor refreshing, and she often offers sound advice. However, her style has alienated some of the other members of the group, and they've made it clear that if I continue interacting with Greta, I risk being ousted from the group altogether. Oh, that's a bit high school. I'm torn as I value both the camaraderie of the group and the friendship I've formed with Greta. What do you think I should do? Should I prioritize maintaining my connection with Greta, or should I heed the warnings of the group and distance myself from her to preserve my standing within the community? Thank you in advance for any guidance you can offer. Warm regards, Penelope. So Penelope is asking for.
I've heard it both ways, but I've heard it as Penelope. Just
Penelope, Penelope.
I've heard it
can
both
be
ways.
both ways.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I know, and I'm not telling the truth. No, there's a lot to be said about this as well, but this is one of those situations where if you actually tell people how you feel, and you can go one of two ways, right? You can either say like, this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to be friends with this person. I really am. There's more to this person than how you guys are judging them, and you can choose that approach, be kind of vocal, loud, or you can just keep it on the down low. But like, I don't think quitting that friend, especially if you have a lot in common, or if you have, if you find value in that friendship, I don't think that you should, and I'm sure they feel it as well. Like, I don't think you quit the friend because the hive mind or the group says that that you shouldn't, especially because this sounds very similar to what I think at least one of us on this podcast, on the show, have experienced online, actually. And there's always two sides to every story, at least. And if you go by what everyone else says, you really run the risk of like not doing the homework yourself. I think that you can if you want to, or you can just think about things. And we've talked about this triangulation, right? Somebody says something, sure, okay, that's one thing. That can be how that person is. Another person says something else that kind of like aligns with what that first person said, and then you experience it yourself, like actually like going through, doing your homework, experiencing it, and say, wait a minute, like what these first two people said, I've experienced it, and it actually rings true, right? You kind of find like other avenues to kind of confirm or reject the hypothesis that's being put out there, right? And it's sometimes, you just experience somebody on a bad day, and that shouldn't be the entire judgment that we make on people, but we do it. It's natural.
But I remember counseling. I love what you said. I remember, this reminds me, I mean, I mentioned earlier high school, but I remember when in teaching, I had there were these three they were like the sisters, these three girls. There was this girl, we'll call her Nicole, but she went by a different name, was the ringleader, and she was kind of like the queen bee, and there were these two other girls, and they basically were like the Powerpuff Girls, because there was one with blonde hair, there was one with red hair, and one with dark hair. It was actually kind of cool. They were like the Powerpuff Girls. Well, then I'd say about January, after we got back from winter break, we got a new student, and this new student, she kind of came across as a little bit blunt, very, very similar to the description that Penelope was given. But she was like, she didn't have any friends, and the buttercup of the group became friends with her and would hang out with her and talk to her, and that angered the other Powerpuff Girls, if you will. So and so they actually made an ultimate, like they would argue with her, with the new girl, and they got to the point where they were telling Buttercup, you have to choose between us or her. And this is one of those times where it was affecting the class. It was affecting everybody. It was getting other people were in tears. Finally, I just brought everybody down. We had a little sit down, and I said, listen, if you're going to be a good friend to Buttercup, you need to let her be friends with whoever she wants. But it all, goes to what you're saying too, is a lot of times a hive mind, there's sometimes there's cases where somebody is just kind of being a little bit rude. And if you're going to be a good friend, if you identify those things, you could tell them, hey, I see these things. And sometimes, like I've had friendships that dissolve because the person that I was friends with was just going too extreme in a lot of things and wouldn't listen to my advice. And I had to distance myself. I had one person that we ended a friendship because he had no regard for how he was affecting me with the positions he was putting me in. On the flip side, I've had situations where people a group doesn't like somebody because they're kind of calling them out on their own bullshit. And I've seen people don't like that. And granted, there's a way to do that, but I think that sometimes that's not necessarily a reason to turn your back on somebody that hasn't affected you. And so I think the point that you made, when it affects you, when you have the firsthand experience, I think that's when you make that judgment, because it goes to the same thing. Whenever I would get a student, starting a new school year, and I get a student, and the teachers before were saying, "Oh, you're getting this bad kid." Well, if I
Exactly.
immediately think of this kid as the bad kid, we're already starting off on a bad foot. But if I
Yeah.
clean slate with this dude and we start off like, and 9 times out of 10, I'll see why this kid was an issue, but
Yeah.
I also find the good, the awesome, and we find a way to communicate, and it's great. I don't have I
Yeah.
have hardly any problems. So I love what you said, and
Yeah, man.
I love the comments here. No one should put baby in a corner. No one should tell you who to be friends with.
Yeah. Really well
Don't
said.
make me choose, because when you do, you won't like it. Yeah, because the
Fantastic.
choice might be not exactly what you're thinking.
That's right.
Excellent comments.
Yeah, love that. Love all of that. Everything that's been said so far. And you can find Mindrunner at Mindrunner, MYNDRUNNERNX. I am at Positively Chris on X, all one word. But yeah, no, I think you're spot on though, Mindrunner. I think, and everything that our friends said here in the comments, that's it. I mean, you make the decision of who you're going to be friends with, and I think if a group, or again like the masses think you shouldn't, the right approach in my head anyway is to question why. Like, what makes you say that? And we go back to those 5 words that are extremely powerful in the English language, and it's understanding where they're coming from, and seek first to understand, then to be understood. A lot of these quotes shape my way of thinking, and because there's a truth to it, right? And the idea of approaching things with a beginner mindset, kind of what you said about the Shoshin, like the Zen Buddhist philosophy of going into something with a clean slate, and not bringing those preconceived notions that are going to sort of set you up in the wrong direction just to start, right? You don't want to start from that. You want to start from square one, from the middle, and you make your determination. And so, yeah, really, really important to have this conversation. I know we're running long. I appreciate you having me today, Mindrunner. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, let's finish up. I appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody watching. We love to hear more from you. Email us or DM us, mindrunner@gmail.com, or at Mindrunner on X, at Positively Chris on X.
I am Positively Chris at Gmail as well. We have a Gmail now.
Positively Chris at Gmail. Make
That's
sure
right.
let us know. We'd love to hear. I mean, and we'd love to hear your thought and share our modest information as well as the community feedback from the chat. Well, now it's time to close out with our fortune cookie takeaways, and let's get to that. All right, Chris, your fortune cookie takeaway, and then I'll give mine, and we'll close it up.
Sure. So I think, I was thinking about what we talked about earlier, right? This conversation of doing things afraid. And this quote was one of my favorite ones. I grew up a huge baseball fan. We grew up in Los Angeles and had the chance to see the Dodgers in 1988 actually launched this home run. Kirk Gibson, Vin Scully on the call. It was a really tremendous moment in my life at the age of 8. And so I think of like these baseball players and their quotes, and one of them, obviously the great Yogi Berra, says, "When you get to a fork in the road, take it," and that's the one. And so that's the quote that I would say stands out, right? That's the one that would. I want people to think about this. It sounds like a joke, right? But the idea is, don't stop when you get there, but rather pick one and go. Like, that's what it is to me when I hear this quote. Yeah, it's funny. Another one of his famous quotes is, "Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded." That's the thing. And so I think it's just an important takeaway, right? To remember that it's okay to be afraid, but still do the work and make progress, and you're gonna turn out better on the other end.
Absolutely. And of course, to quote Stephanie, she says that she likes baseball too. Padres are amazing. Sigh. I love that. And also, do that thing now. That's a quote from me. That's just coming from this weekend. And actually, it's a spawn from another quote. One of my best assistant managers when I was working in car sales was Mike Bond, and he just said, "Get it done. Just get it done, but do the thing now. We're not promised tomorrow. We don't know what's going on, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So just make the most of today, and don't be a dick about it. Just be cool. And thank you, Morrison's Prophecy. There's a chance that again there will not be a Mental Health Mondays today, but it's back next Monday. And my first guest may or may not be someone named Morrison's Prophecy. The Reverend Warlock returns. I believe this will be his third visit, perhaps third or fourth. I got to go back in the archives. But the Reverend Warlock has returned to bless our channels again. Anyways,
Fantastic.
For Positively Chris, I am Mindrunner. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. And let's kick it off with our ending. Boom.